You're listening to Negotiator, a podcast led by women of color from two generations, exploring what it means to negotiate power and possibility. With Gitanjali Ponnappa and Alpa Gupta, you'll hear stories and strategies shaped by different life stages, all with one mission: to help you claim your voice and your future.
Today, we're diving into a critical but often overlooked part of this internal readiness we've been discussing, which is your nervous system, your body. The inner question we're exploring is, what is my body trying to tell me at this moment of a critical conversation, a difficult negotiation? We look at how our nervous system reacts in stressful situations, and we'll also look at practical ways to manage those reactions so that we can negotiate calmly and clearly.
I know when I'm feeling stressed or anxious about a negotiation or any difficult conversation, really, my body definitely reacts and it makes it harder to think straight or speak confidently.
So why are we talking about the nervous system in the context of negotiation? Because negotiation, especially high-stakes negotiation, where you have something to win, something to lose, is inherently stressful. Our bodies are wired to respond to stress, and that response can either help us or hinder us at the negotiation table.
It's that automatic fight, flight, or freeze response that we hear about. Fight, flight, freeze. It really is a tongue twister, isn't it? When our nervous system perceives a threat, which a challenging negotiation can feel like, it triggers these survival responses.
Exactly. So in a negotiation setting, fight might look like becoming aggressive or overly assertive. Flight might be avoiding the conversation altogether, avoidance, procrastination. And freeze could manifest as being unable to think clearly or to articulate your point or even remember anything that you have prepared. And sometimes, for women and people of color, there's also the fawn response, people-pleasing, or conceding too easily to avoid conflict or to gain acceptance. Or in my case, being sometimes too pleasant or too smiley. Really, sometimes when I look back, I wonder why I look like mildly amused when I actually should have kept a serious face.
Wow, I didn't even know there was a name for this.
Yeah.
Fawn response. I do like it. I mean, we've spoken about it quite a few times, but I know the feeling. Right?
Mhm.
Laughing too quickly, agreeing too easily, making myself smaller to keep the peace.
Mhm.
It's such a like good girl reflex. I really like the imagery of that word, fawn response. I think it's a nice way of putting it because you can really feel the word.
This response, though, can be more intense, and we might do more of it if we come from a place of trauma, or we come from chronic stress, or if we're constantly feeling marginalized, or we are in or recovering from a burnout. That fawn behavior, this conceding, comes out more often.
I can imagine that having this fawn response, which actually, you can feel it in your body, it makes you quite reactive, and you can't really stay grounded or think strategically, right? I mean, that reflex can really cost you.
Mm-hmm.
And, unlearning it basically means you need to notice when you're saying yes just to be liked.
Yes. So your body's reaction is telling you something about the moment. To me, I'll tell you what my body does. My body does is this little flutter.
Yeah.
I feel this, like it literally, I hear it in my ears like that. It's right under my throat. It's maybe like between my breasts, like in my chest. So not on my heart, but in the middle of my rib cage.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I see that as a signal. To me, it's a signal that I'm unsafe or I'm under threat, or maybe I'm not heard, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. And learning to recognize this physical signal and having the tools to regulate it has been fundamental for me to be able to negotiate effectively, especially when the other side is not easy, people are difficult, the situation is challenging. So for me, it's about building this sort of internal readiness?
Let me think about how I feel it really. Because
Okay.
I feel it in my voice sometimes where it's, you can hear it. My voice is shaky. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
feeling confident. But where I feel it first is in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a feeling of warmth. Like I feel suddenly I'm warm. I feel the hairs on my arms stand up. I feel I don't know, you almost get goosebumps, that kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a feeling of warmth. Like I'm like it's almost like I've had too much coffee, I'm jittery, or I'm about to cry. It's a very strong feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I've realized? That it's not always fear. I don't think it's a feeling of fear.
Mm-hmm.
It could be embarrassment sometimes, shame. I don't know how to really, describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it would be, sometimes I feel similar when I'm embarrassed about something. When I come into like this unsafe kind of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, sometimes in these uncomfortable situations, I find myself, wanting to avoid it. Like I want to eat something sweet, or
Really?
yeah, like I want to like eat a chocolate, or I've noticed this before, or I have pick up my phone and start to doom scroll, to scroll. It's really a way to like, I think, give my energy, give my mind something else to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my nervous system responds, or how my brain responds when I feel like I'm being cornered in some way.
Oh,
And
okay.
I want to say something, and I have to be very careful at those points what I'm going to say, because my body is giving me constant signals that I'm not safe.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean that's kind of how I know I feel it.
Yeah.
But this is an extreme, of course, an extreme description of when I feel really insecure, unsafe, and cornered.
Hmm. Okay. You know, that feeling, I would think a lot of people, I feel it, is when I'm going into something stressful. So I know, for example, that I'm going in now to have a conversation with somebody who has, in quotes, slighted me.
Yeah.
Or I'm angry with that person because they've sent me an email that was so unfair with 5 people on that email for no real reason, right? So I'm already anxious, angry, irritable. I'm so angry that I want to cry.
Yeah.
So recognizing all of this body reaction, I've developed over the years. My brother has a new, like he calls it biohacks. I'd never really thought about it that way. But I call them like my tools for regulating myself.
Yeah.
Right. So it gets me into that conversation. I'm still going to go in and have a conversation with this person, but I'm going to go in having regulated my body, which will then lead me to regulating my brain.
I think that is 100%. Like what I described is really, let's say, one side of the spectrum for me, right? The extreme side of the spectrum. Because there's another side is when my fight response kicks in.
Okay.
Someone disrespects me,
Mhm.
and I need to prove something to that person. That's when I fight. I start negotiating too hard, maybe too fast, trying to win, instead of connecting with that person, which is like bringing your authentic self to the table, and trying to look at both sides. And then I, start wondering, like, was I advocating for myself in that part, or was I just trying not to feel powerless, or that I'm being demeaned in some way?
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on the biohacks, or how the tools that you build for yourself to regulate emotionally, because that's what it is, right? It's a way to emotionally regulate.
Yes.
And think about your reaction before you actually do something.
Yeah. And these biohacks, as maybe we can refer to them as, they're like small. They're little physical, physiological adjustments that you make that help you shift your state of fight, flight, fright, fawn. They're just little, they're small physical ones. They're tools to help you come back to this calmer, more centered, in a way, a more person who's more in control than an emotional person going into a difficult discussion. And my brother, as I've mentioned, he's a public health specialist, he's a doctor, and he constantly reminds me that it isn't only about 2 things: go be brave, or let's have medication. There are options. And sometimes it's simply about getting my body to do what I need it to do, to be in a calm place.
100%. So what would you say some of your tools are?
So one of my favorite tools is simply my stance, right? So before a big conversation, so like this example, somebody sent a really horrible email to 5 people, and I'm going to march up to their desk or their office now, and I'm going to have that conversation with them. So I'm in fight mode. Or I'm afraid because of the email that was sent, so I'm a little frightened. Doesn't matter which one it is. So what I do is before a big conversation, I pay attention to how I'm holding my body. I try to take up more space by standing tall. I'm not a very big, large woman. So what I do is I hold my shoulders back, my spine is long, and I feel that my posture sends a signal, but not just to other people, not to this other person that I'm going to go speak with, but it also sends a signal to my own brain. So, feeling my feet planted, strong, gives me emotional steadiness. It's a way to be physically grounded as well. And with women, we tend to sit, very ladylike with one leg over the other. I think that's a terrible idea in a place of stress. Put both feet down and plant them firmly on the ground.
It's funny that you mentioned that you're not a small woman, because I'm much bigger than you, and I've always been bigger, on the bigger side. And on the other hand, like, I've always been asked to shrink myself because I didn't want to fully be present, because it's from the time I was a child, and I realized that for me to feel grounded and confident in my own body, I need to, like, actually take up more space, not tell myself that I have to shrink. And recently, I've started lifting weights, and I've already started noticing an improvement in my posture, and that just that small change, which is I'm taller, I can feel my back better, and I can feel like longer. It's given me more confidence.
Yeah, I can see that. And you also do yoga of some sort. I remember you mentioning that. What is that?
Yes, I do yoga. I mean, I do yin yoga, which is the most boring of all types of yoga.
Okay.
That's
What is it?
people say. It's called yin yoga. So it's extremely slow.
Mm.
And the idea is you hold stretches for a very long period of time. It's not at all dynamic. It's not like vinyasa. Of course, you do some vinyasa stretches and stuff, but here it's really about releasing stored stress
Okay.
in your body.
Okay.
And it's about releasing any type of deep tension. And usually I hold a lot of tension in my back, my shoulders. And I can also sometimes I notice myself yawning a lot mid pose. And
Okay.
and I really feel that there's energy leaving my body.
Uh,
And it's like my body's letting go of stored stress. And
okay.
without a doubt, after the class, I always feel lighter. I feel calmer. I feel more ready to handle whatever is going to come. And I wish sometimes that I could go into a negotiation straight from that class into that, difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Because I just feel so much more grounded.
Yeah. Okay. And this yawn thing reminded me, I tend to have a lot of tension in my jaw. And I wear a mouth guard at night because, I chew and I clench and I'm like making life miserable for myself at night. But what I also notice is when I'm on Teams calls, maybe not one-on-one, maybe in a group when I'm not the center, sometimes when I occasionally look at my own face, I can see my jaw clenched so tight because I'm so focused, and I have to tell myself, unlock your jaw, let it soften. Because if I don't, that stress and that tension, like you said, it's in your voice. It sneaks into my voice and it makes me sound and a little strained, and I sound a little anxious maybe, or a little angry, when actually all I am is focused, right? So releasing my jaw can help my voice. I already have a pretty loud and strong and powerful voice, but it helps it feel steadier. So it's not like a punch.
Yeah. Sometimes you're so right. Because sometimes when I'm not actually stressed, maybe, I'm a little bit unsure, and you can totally hear it in my voice. And so, you need to unlock your jaw and let it, like, just be a little softer. And maybe it makes you feel more powerful that way.
Yeah. And would you think, I mean, I haven't noticed this about you actually. I use my hands a lot when I talk. Are you in another, like when we are not talking, meaning not on a podcast, do you have your, what do your hands say about your energy?
So I'm a movement worker with my hands. So
Okay.
my hands are very, usually
Yeah.
front and center. And I'm a fidgeter as well, definitely. But I think it's a trauma response. A lot of people have this with fidgeting. Like, for example, I can't keep my feet straight. So even when I'm presenting,
Ah.
you will not see it that I'm actually nervous. But if I'm standing behind something, my foot will be shaking.
Oh, so you like kind of jog your foot?
Like
My brother does that. Okay.
it is the nervous energy, and but sometimes I also have to let myself, be like, this is who I am, and I know that a lot of the time I have to let the nervous energy go.
Yeah.
But it just sometimes in the beginning, no matter how many times I practice, I do have that initial nervous energy,
Mhm.
and I do, it has been hard for me to, let's say, intercept my movement of my either my fingers or my feet.
My brother, I don't know why I'm talking about my brother so much in this episode, but anyway, my brother, we used to tease him because he does this leg jog thing. So if he's on a video call, when you don't see him, you only see shoulder up. He's jogging his legs up and down. So in Hindi at home, we would always tease him that he's like a darji. So like a tailor moving his feet on the tailoring machine all the time. And I think that's actually just simply that nervous energy. And you should find a way to channel that nervous energy in a subtle way, because otherwise that nervousness is going to either bounce into your voice or into your hands, which is more visible, right? So for me, I don't have it here, but what I have is let's pretend this is a pen, right? So I have a pen. I have a favorite pen that I hold in my hand, whether it's in person or on a call, so that I don't look like I'm typing on a call, for example. And when I'm in with a person, I don't want to be like holding my phone, like that's so it's so rude, right? So I hold this pen, and it's also, just to tell you, it's a very pretty pen, and because it's pretty, I like looking at it. So it makes my brain go, oh, because it's a nice pen. But it's also a hefty pen. So it's not like a little plasticky pen. So it's a hefty pen. So it feels solid in my hands. And then I know this feels like I feel a little odd telling you this, but it's also an expensive pen. It's expensive. It shows the other person that I can afford it. So it's a little bit of a mind game, but it helps. This is the biohacking your brain into giving you confidence. Right? So it's just something that I do with my favorite pen.
You can call it whatever, but it's your safety pen.
Yeah. Yes, it is my safety pen. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how, we always talk about breathing, right? Because breathing is, of course, everybody's favorite grounding tool, whether it's, four counts in, four counts out.
Yes.
But I've felt a lot of the time that it's really hard to remember to breathe in these situations. But doing yoga, doing some kind of practice where breathing is innately part of it,
Yeah.
it makes it easier. And you're like, basically, it's like you're prepping life, right?
Yeah.
And being, working inwards with yourself helps you in these incredibly high stake moments sometimes.
Yeah. My mother does yoga every day. She's 70 something years old. And she tells me about how the breath, she says, it's incredibly powerful. And I find that it's powerful in these high stake moments. It's this simple and kind of an effective technique when you exhale, this long exhale, you go, whew. So before I go into a difficult discussion, I channel my dad. My dad used to be the kind who would do these large sighs. He'd go, whew. And now I see the benefit of doing that.
I mean, and I have to also keep reminding myself sometimes, because when I think of negotiations in my mind, I picture the high stakes, difficult conversations, high conflict people that we spoke about in our last episodes, right? But not all of them are like that. So you're just preparing, right? Like, for example, in yoga, we have this ujjayi breath, right? Which is, it's like the ocean breath, they call it.
Oh.
It's specifically targeting your nervous system. The whole idea is it's designed to calm and focus your mind and your body. And kind of bring you into this like grounded, more centered state. And it's basically you breathe in and you could feel the sound of the ocean when you breathe out, basically. You put some effort towards your tongue and your teeth, and the sound that comes out is like grounding. And I just mentioned earlier about the working in versus working out. And exercise of any form has been so incredibly powerful for me in the last few years to really understand myself. But when I'm doing the slow yoga or slow exercising, like I've practiced Tai Chi in the past, is that we really, instead of focusing on pushing our bodies to do something, working in is it's about using practices that nourish your soul and calm the nervous system instead of again bringing it up, because working out is great, but you are pushing your nervous system out of its comfort zone, whereas working in your it's a more grounding and restorative practice, and both of these are needed. And it's not for calories, it's not for really for calorie burning in this case.
Yeah.
It's mind work.
And since we're talking about negotiations, we're not looking at burning calories, because when you are in a negotiation, you're burning calories right here in your brain, right? You're using brain juice. And so this is really about being in a calm, controlled, regulated way and using these hacks like breathing. I like this word, ujjayi breath. And that is about, I also really love the word you used, restorative, because you're going into something stressful. And maybe after also you need to do this to restore your calm, because you'd carry your anger or your stress. Even if it was a wonderful discussion, it went the way you wanted, it took a lot of power from you.
And I like to think of it this way, when I'm trying to think about working in versus working out, is am I more hungry after the workout, right? Like sometimes I go for like the Zen yoga class and I feel super satiated after it's done, because it doesn't actually it gives me something instead of like taking out something from me. Whereas when you work out, and again, working out is great. It's about burning, calories, burning energy from your body. So you're, more hungry. For me, working in is really about, it gives you something back that you have lost.
And that's the other thing that we should really talk about, which is preparation, physical, biohacks, mental, all of that before a negotiation. But there's also stuff to do after, because either you've got what you wanted and you're delighted, but whatever it is, it has taken energy from you.
Yeah.
What do you do after? What is it that helps you feel good after a negotiation?
So, I haven't done that many high stakes negotiations. I've had very tough conversations. And often what happens to me is I get stuck in my head. I'm replaying these conversation scenarios. What should I have said differently? How did I say it? What could have been an alternative outcome? So reflection is firstly a big thing. Like you have to reflect on what happened and how it went and how it could have gone differently if you had done certain things. But to get out of that overthinking or that replaying of scenarios, I think stepping away physically, like you actually need to physically get out of, that's the place firstly where you are, can help. And when you physically get out, that already shifts your mental state, right? So for me personally, I love walks, like long walks, like it is just walking, listening to a podcast or listening to some music or whatever it is, because it's about being outside, looking at things, of course, that's moving by. But even this like activity, it just shifts something in me and it lets me kind of process stuff without actively having to process it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I kind of find, let's say, a higher energy, whether it's in the sound of the birds, the leaves, me breathing. It just never fails. Just the simple act of walking and being present is like 1,000,000% success formula for lifting my spirits, but also letting me process and kind of surface insights. Really.
I know this is not high stakes. You would never have a high stake conversation walking, but you also say that if you could have a conversation that may become difficult or a relationship that may become difficult, if you could have that conversation while you were walking.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah. And something that I like to do very much, and I don't know if I ever did that with you, I'm not sure, when you and I work together, I like to do something called a walk and talk. So even if it's a short, little walk, I like to put Zuki on the leash and go out for a walk and talk to this person who's either with me walking or on the phone walking. But there's something about getting out And also in this case, the act of doing something like putting a dog on the leash, locking the door, getting out, all of that is in a way, it puts me in a good space to be able to have a good conversation, which I know it's not high stakes, but sometimes looking at a person on a screen can be very difficult. But if you could have this, if you could, it doesn't work all the time. If you could have a difficult conversation while you're walking, the other person's walking, maybe on a phone on the other end, or with you, it sort of changes the intensity of that conversation.
It's just burning energy in some other way, right?
Mhm.
And my husband actually, Jan, is a prolific walker while talking. He cannot sit still. So even in his meetings, he kind of walks around the meeting room. Other people are sitting, he just walks.
Mhm.
And it really, he said, it helps him think, it helps him process. The words flow better. Um, so I'm a high, and come on, and we have lunch while working, right? People eat while working. So why not do some kind of physical activity?
Yeah.
Because I mean, our bodies were also not made to sit the way that we are sitting constantly on a computer. This is not how people lived previously. So I think it's actually, it should be more natural than it is, and how it should be more accepted than it is.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've spoken about walking movement, right? That's the biggest topic. I mean, one of the topics here.
Mhm.
I mean, fueling your body is also very important. This is something I don't do super well, but I know when I do it well, it does.
Yeah, see, this is what I find interesting. It's such an obvious thing, but you are also overlooking it.
Yeah.
Like, I would tell anybody who has to go into any important meeting, like whether you're presenting something to a client or you're having going in to have a conversation with someone on your team who you're not happy with their performance, or you're going in to negotiate a contract, it doesn't matter what. Why would you go in on an empty stomach? I mean, to stay calm, to think clearly, your blood sugar needs to be steady. So it's to me, it seems like a very overlooked. Lots of people just overlook fueling themselves to eat something beforehand. Like, I mean, just go. Even if you're driving and you have to get to a meeting, stop at the gas station at a kiosk or something and buy an apple. Or like in my case, I carry around this little baggie which has nuts in it. It has cashew and it has walnut, and it also has salted peanut. But whatever, I carry this around in my backpack or in my purse because I don't want to negotiate when I'm hungry, and nobody wants to have me on the other end if I'm hungry.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really depends from person to person. Like for me, vitamin deficiencies was a big thing as well.
Mm.
Especially vitamin D and magnesium, I think were two things that I realized I was deficient in, and it plays a huge role, both of those things,
Mhm.
in emotional regulation, stress, sleep. And honestly, I don't want to sound like a 30-year-old who, post 30 now.
Okay.
Told me about magnesium, but it really did change my life
Mhm.
when it comes to sleep.
Mhm.
And fun fact, actually, most Indians are highly deficient in vitamin D.
Mhm.
And so, if you're Indian listening to this call, please get yourself checked. I'm not a doctor, but I really think you should talk to your doctor to get any medical advice. But vitamin D has really changed my life.
Mhm.
And one other thing, I mean, this is something I know in theory and I try to practice, but the best sometimes it gets the best of me, is trying not to eat high sugar, high carb foods before any meeting or anywhere where I have to be present, because the blood sugar crash for me is really detrimental.
I hadn't thought of that because I do eat I might eat a Twix bar just before going. I do because I need the sugar spike to take me in to have that discussion. And because after that, I'm so well prepared that I'm enjoying the discussion. I don't know if I actually feel the crash because I'm looking forward to it. So, okay.
So for
Yeah.
me, it's really about, I do eat it sometimes. Like, of course, like, you have sugar available everywhere and you feel like it's going to help you.
Mhm.
For me personally, I end up feeling sluggish, unfocused. I cannot focus.
Okay.
Yeah. But
All right.
as you said, we're both of us are not doctors. So, you
Don't listen to us.
don't listen to us. You can call my parents. They're both doctors.
Yes.
Let me know.
Yeah. You know,
What else?
Okay, so I had to give this one a little bit of a thought. So I think about when from a career perspective. There are times that are really crucial to your career, right? So for example, going into an interview. It's important. You are there, you're going to an interview because you want to. Or you are going in to tell somebody, your boss, that you really would like to be on another project. So it's important to you. So what I'm trying to build up to is there are events in your career that you need to negotiate because you're choosing to, because they're important to you.
Yeah.
So what would be the things you would do as part of preparation? So in our season 1, we've talked a lot about preparation, and this one is about the biohacking of your body, right? So I thought about another one, which is like food, like we talked about, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 1 hour before going into a conversation. But there's something else that I like to do, maybe well ahead, that gets me prepared, let's say. There used to be, I don't know, somebody told me this, my body is a temple. Well, if it's a temple that's being prepared for this big discussion, I love spinach. I really do. I really love spinach.
Yeah.
Yes, but I have like this frozen baggie in the freezer all the time. You are Indian, you would know this. I love instant Maggi, 2-minute Maggi noodles.
Not sure that's helpful.
No, it doesn't, but I put spinach into it, so I think it's better. I defrost it and I put sesame dressing. Like there's so many ways, but why is it? Again, I'm not saying that this is a hack for negotiations. What I'm saying is it's so high in magnesium. Why would you not give your body the advantage it needs before something that is so important to you? Like maybe your wedding day is so important to you. An interview is so important to you. Why will you not give your body that advantage? Right?
I think this applies for really anything, right? I mean, food, fuel, food is fuel. A lot of people say that, right?
Yeah.
In terms of exercise as well, like what we're saying here, it's not really like it's not revolutionary. We're just saying that these are the basics that you do to take care of your body, which then helps you show up more authentically in those negotiations, which helps you basically give yourself the best shot.
Yes, that's it. If you knew, somebody told you, like the 10 Commandments, if somebody told you, here are the 5 things you need to do to prepare for a negotiation, wouldn't you do it? Yeah, it's to me, it's as simple as that, and it's as straightforward as that. And you pick your 5, I pick my 5. Some of them are same. So here's another one. It's a slightly different kind of a hack. And it's also new to me because I didn't have that awareness before. And it involves your sense of smell. So smell, is connected to memory. So like when it rains, then that smell, it reminds you of a time in your childhood, maybe. We just talked about this freshly baked bread. It gives you an emotion actually associated with it. So why wouldn't you use that to your advantage?
I definitely use it.
Oh,
For me,
okay.
I'm not addicted, but I have grown up to the smell of this miak kapak, which is like this. It's like, yeah, it's
What is it?
for any Malaysian listeners. Everybody knows miak kapak. It's like it's a medicated oil, Chinese herbal oil. It's green in color. It's Axe brand.
Oh, yes, I know that. I didn't know that's what it's called. Okay.
Also, it's called.
Uh-huh.
And it has a very specific smell. I usually always have it.
Uh-huh.
And it's like a smell for all. Like whether I'm having a headache, having a tummy ache, I'm stressed, I need to like release energy or
Yeah.
Sure. It's like I put it everywhere. And funnily enough, my son is also now addicted to it. And my mom used to give it to me, but it's definitely something I use.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I've never thought about it from a negotiation
Yeah.
perspective, but I use it to relax, right? I use it to ease stress, relieve pain. So,
Yeah. So
it's familiar.
yeah, and then so before something stressful, before a big conversation or negotiation, you should use this Green Axe scent because yes, and then at least your brain will associate that scent with this calm state that you like being in. You associate that, right? It helps trigger that feeling. So for me, the maybe it's a smell and a ritual that gives me this, I've got this, like I can do this, is my cup of tea. So I am rarely without my cup of tea. And it isn't this generic Lipton tea bag chai, like it isn't that. It's this specific Tata Gold chai patti, Tata Gold tea leaves. It comes in this gold box. And I associate the ritual of warm water, putting in my tea leaves, making that cup of tea. I associate it with strength, but I also associate it with calm, with a quiet confidence. So typically before a difficult conversation, even if I don't have access to my Tata Gold tea leaves, I will take a Lipton tea bag. And even if it's a paper cup in an office somewhere, I will make myself a warm cup of tea, hold that warm cup, because in my brain, it releases strength and quiet confidence. Yeah, okay, maybe.
And the thing also is, I love how you secretly hated on Lipton. And
Sorry.
Tata Gold is like, we are not sponsored by Tata Gold.
Yeah, and Lipton, it's fine.
Lipton, we love you too. If anyone is listening, please, we can have some sponsors.
Yes.
I mean, I completely agree with you. These like rituals, it's, a lot of this, and we spoke about this as well. We were having some conversations this morning, and we were talking about rituals as part of religion and why rituals exist, right? It's also to give you that space and time to process, to get ready, to prepare yourself. It's all part of spirituality. It's part of faith, right? That lets you go into something knowing you've done things, you've prepared, you're now ready to take on whatever is coming towards you. And I really like the word quiet confidence. It's something that, reminds me that when you don't have quiet confidence, you sometimes, when someone says something to you that you don't agree with, you have this need to defend yourself, to say, no, I didn't mean it like that, or, over explain and, try to, change the mind of the other person. But when you have this quiet confidence, it doesn't matter what the other person says. This is your stance. You've said it with confidence, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else to it.
Yes.
And I think embodying this quiet confidence, I don't know if that's how you meant it, but for me, that's how I visualize that word. I'm a very visual person, as you might have noticed, but that's how I visualize quiet confidence.
I also really, I use this very often with myself and with others about this quiet confidence, because I think too often, my life experience, I have been faced with a lot of loud confidence, with a lot of chest thumping, with a lot of, I call it the gorilla behavior, And I find finding a space amongst the gorillas can only happen if you just are quietly confident. You have to be confident, but it has to come quietly. By that, I don't mean keep quiet. I don't mean silence. I don't mean any of those things. I mean deliberate, calm confidence.
And you're absolutely right. Like this, sometimes I was hearing as well how fast people speak, and whereas people who are very confident speak very slowly and they say very few things, but their message comes across. Whereas sometimes, even if you know a lot and you tend to keep speaking and saying a lot, people don't have that credibility because they're seen as not quite confident, I think, in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were saying.
That was it.
Okay. I was also thinking, another thing that helps me with my confidence is somebody else having confidence in me. Somebody else thinking that I've got this. Somebody who I trust, not just a random somebody, but somebody who I trust, somebody I love, somebody who knows me, is there to support me verbally and sometimes physically, like with a hand squeeze, with a pat, with a hug. Do you have that too? Do you have this? Like I actually very often have a craving for a physical connection to give me confidence.
I mean, I always call a friend before a big moment. It helps me lower my cortisol levels if I'm like very stressed. Like even if I'm just hearing from a friend that it's okay, you got this, don't worry, or helping you mentally prepare, process anxiety. And when you're not isolated, it's just so much easier. Like, I think having this idea that you are alone or you have to face everything alone is just not true. I think we need to also, and when I say we need to, I mean a lot of people are caught like, oh, I only have myself to count on. I'm the only, you're not.
Yeah.
Even the fact that you get water every day at the bathroom is because like so many people have like come together to build the pipes to make sure the water is running. Someone is there at the water pump company, I assume,
Sure.
who's like switching on something so that you have, so you can't live alone.
Yeah.
Your whole societies have been built around you to, you know, make sure you have a life. And I think this is something which, having again that it's not a biohack, but it's a mental hack. Like stop thinking that you are alone. I think this is a very big thing.
And maybe having physical reminder that you're not alone. Right? So if you happen to live in the same city as your friend and can take a quick tram ride over and get a hug, why not?
I think I really think we should talk more about this.
Yeah.
Actually, like being firstly a good friend to people, and it's okay for you to ask other people to also be supportive of you. And actually, this is something I learned. If anybody who's been in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, there's so many of these anonymous programs, or if you've heard of it, you know the idea of having a sponsor, and it's based on this. It's to show you that you can get over anything, including addictions, by not being alone.
Yeah.
And thinking you are alone is part of the problem.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And so, we spoke about those things. It's, knowing that you have someone, ensuring you are showing up for yourself by having a healthy body, mind, learning to tune into what your body is telling you. Like, what are the, are you feeling warm, for example, for me?
Yeah.
Am I using the right tools to regulate? Am I giving myself all the chances to remain centered and effective when pressure is on?
Yeah. These external challenges and these scripts we've discussed and doubts, they all trigger this sort of a physical response in your body, right? So I don't think it's possible with any of these biohacks, and maybe you have many more that people follow, like prayer, meditation, gratitude are also hacks, right? And they are they actually affect your brain and your nervous system. But it's not about eliminating stress entirely, that you don't have stress, right? Exactly, you can't. But it is about building resilience. And if you build resilience, we talked about like it is like learning a language, it needs practice, it's like going to the gym, it's building muscle. All of those analogies are so that you can build resilience to access your best thinking, so that you can have options even when you feel nervous. So it's almost like an insurance. You do all of these things so that you can access it.
It's honestly, if I can put it very simply, you do the hard work somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that when it gets hard, you can manage to deal with these situations, right? Because if you think of people who go through extremely hard things, they come out of it different because they have to face something, and therefore when they're faced with something comparable or less stressful, it doesn't affect them as much because what they went through. And I'm not saying put yourself through really hard situation. What I'm saying is like even working out, like being able to lift, let's say 100 kilos, is not an easy thing. You need to focus. Your mind needs to be there. Your body needs to be there. You are fighting yourself. You don't wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to do this. So you're fighting, and just being able to do that makes it easier for you to fight those negative thoughts, those intrusive behaviors sometimes, and gives you just the best chance to be successful.
Yeah. And as we wrap up this episode on these biohacking and getting in touch and tune with your body and understanding that, what do you think would be the 2 or 3 questions that you would take a moment for this nervous system check-in, this body check-in? What would be your questions? What would you tell yourself?
So the first thing is to do this kind of a body scan, right? How does your body feel? Where are you feeling the tension? Is it in your shoulders? Like right now, actually, I feel my shoulders a little bit. I don't know why. Are you holding your breath? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you fidgeting? No. And then maybe try one of those the things that you mentioned as well, is like having that power pose. taking those breaths, maybe listening to a meditation on Calm.
Yeah.
Love that app if you guys know it.
Yeah.
Having a short meditation or short check-in,
Mhm.
just to take a minute for yourself and practice self-command.
Yeah.
And also for me, definitely make sure I'm not hungry because I'm super cranky when I'm hungry.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I would do.
and these are not magic fixes by any way. We are not saying that these are magic fixes, but my hope, our hope, is that they are tangible ways to support your internal state, allowing your skills and preparation to shine through. They are part of that crucial work of negotiating with yourself first.
That's a wrap for this episode of Negotiator. If you like this episode, share it forward and help us all rise together. Your voice matters. Stand up for yourself. And when you can, stand up for someone else too. Until next time, this is Negotiator, empowering you to become unstoppable.